what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, how dare you, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Flatzoid, Ranty Flat Earth, 10th Man, Righteous Force and Arwin in G+. Very good to have you all.
Good afternoon.
Thanks.
Good afternoon. Good to be here.
Hello, hello.
We're also joined by a whole bunch of people in Discord, so hello to everyone in the Discord server.
Morning, guys.
Good morning. So, same as yesterday, we started off with one of the housekeeping questions. I'm going to have to sneeze. Bear with me a second. Oh dear. Hopefully I won't. So we're going to cover Earth curvature now, which is the second.
Hang on, wait a minute. We're going to cover what?
What Earth curvature?
What are you talking about?
Excuse me, I missed the mute button as well. Sorry. Covering Earth curvature. So
What's that, Nathan?
Well, precisely the evidence that would be required to demonstrate that the Earth has a curve to it. So,
Yeah, but you just said we're covering it as if it's real.
Yeah, we're covering the claim. So we're covering the housekeeping question. So the housekeeping question is any signs of Earth curvature. And it used to be the opening question because it's the most significant until we have a specific reified Earth curve edge to argue about, which was yesterday. So today we're talking about the claims we get of Earth curvature, what they are, how they relate to the actual ground we're standing on, and why it's such a good housekeeping question.
Well, the picture on screen right now is that water line, is that the curvature? Is the rest looming up behind it? The horizon looming up behind that water geometrical edge horizon that it is presumed to be? Or it used to be?
No,
or
it's not.
Is it something else?
I can make it very clear.
Is it an optical effect?
Well, it is an optical effect. It's a picture, but to assert this is Earth curve, you'd have to turn it 90 degrees and remove all aspects of perspective, show the side of your own head, and then show the geometric Earth curve obstruction that they claim is the horizon. So you've got to replace all of the actual optical effects of this picture and replace them with geometric effects of an Earth curve to substitute the effects of optics and perspective.
Right. Because I'm pretty sure that if this camera would be going upward in a perfect vector upwards, just in a straight line, then that optical cutoff, after which the mirror effect starts happening, clearly, to those who have any critical thought, yeah, that would start migrating into the distance as the camera would be going up, and then it would be revealed that it is actually literally there, that the island is there, that it is being reflected, actually, and it's not all a looming thing.
Or to put it another way, the island is not a fish.
Right. Yeah, it does look like a fish a bit. It's funny.
Aaron, would you say looming is a mirage?
What?
Looming, is it a
Looming and
mirage?
miraging is different. But one thing I want to just cover specifically about this, because we're on topic with the optics of this image. Just coincidence, it could have been any. They're all the same. Every single image will prove Earth is flat. Of this nature, before anyone gets pedantic with me. So, yesterday we had Rumpus coming on telling us that everything's apparent. There is no actual to any of it. It's all not actual. In other words, apparent locations of things in the distance. Now, given that they have a geometry and everything's not actual, I'm quite intrigued to know why all of these apparent things in images are being given actual sizes in their geometric Earth curve calculator that represents physicality. So why would they be now disclaiming that everything's not actual and apparent, optical, when their calculators are geometric and their sizes are actual? Not angular sizes, but feet and inches that don't change with distance. So these building measurements, I can give you the feet, let's say the 100 foot for that, whatever it is, chimney or whatever, on this left-hand side. If I say that's 100 feet, it doesn't matter if I'm standing at the base of it, cricking my neck to look at the top of it, it's still represented as 100 feet. But if I push it to the horizon, and it's a tiny little single pixel in my camera because it's so far away, it's still called 100 feet. Because they're geometric calculations that assume we have an Earth curve edge, obscuring our view when you put things side on and remove perspective. Well, that's not accounting for these apparent sizes of things and the fact that they're not in their actual locations because apparently they're not actual but apparent. Everything's virtual. Well, if that's the case, why are we attributing these things in Earth curve mathematics actual sizes when clearly they're apparent? They get smaller with distance. That tower's not 100 foot in the same way if I'm looking up at it as if it's on the horizon, because it's got smaller. The apparent size, which they're all claiming now everything is apparent, why the hell aren't we addressing this in apparent sizes in the Earth curve maths? Oh, because it's geometric and perspective exclusive. So it can't possibly use angular sizes because things would disappear at the exact same point that they say Earth curve's obstructing them. Have you got something you want to present, Arwin?
Oh yeah, that's my update to the original eye on a stick drawing. I'd like to compare it. I like to compare it with the image that you're showing, the video footage, and just say that yeah, this is a perfect example. Yeah, even concerning water because there's the waves in the field of view, right? And then yeah, you can see the optical slant cutoff point, and the mirror effect increases in height over distance in relation to the observer from that point on. And at the end of sight, and there's clearly an end of sight, a gray blur behind the mountain, that's just refraction blur. So this is indeed a good way to describe as to what is being seen within sight in this image. Ah, it's gone.
But I've just got one more point, hold on. So just out of interest, just so I can make my perspective hijacking point. So based on this image, when I say you have to turn the image 90 degrees and you see your own head, or in this case the side of your eyeball, and then the image that you're actually looking at is represented by Arwin's, right hand side of the page. Well, just so I can make this point absolutely clear, this is done to remove perspective. So if this line is an object, like my chimney stacks or whatever they were a moment ago, I can write 100 feet on this line and say, well, that's my view of the chimney stacks, even though you don't see the side of your own head in any picture you take. But if I write on this, where it says field of view, 10 metres, the picture remains the same as if I write 1,000 metres or 1,000 miles. The representation is the same, and the building you're looking at is still 100 feet. It hasn't changed at all, because it's not representing these not actual sizes, these apparent sizes, even though they're now disclaiming that everything's apparent. But their Earth curve maths doesn't use apparent sizes, it uses actual sizes and geometry for physicality when misrepresenting what we actually see. This is the way their maths works, a side-on view with items in the distance not changing their actual size value. When in reality, what we get is a picture like this. Where's the eyeball? Oh right, it's not in view. Where's the side presentation of this slanting upwards as in Arwin's picture? Well, does it slide up from right to left on a picture of reality? No, it slides up to the middle of frame. But when you turn it 90 degrees, you remove perspective and then you can call it Earth curve, which is all they've done. They can call it geometry, when in reality they're dealing with perspective. But they've taken perspective, and that's what gives them their geometry. Rumper submitted it yesterday, while simultaneously professing to everything being not actual, everything being apparent, so that he can run those apparents through his actual geometric physical Earth curve calculator to claim that physical geometric Earth curve is the cause of the obstruction. by way of extrapolation of optics, which is what our argument is. It's a very wonderful time to be a flat earther.
Indeed. Welcome to Flat Earth. But yeah, my picture is not an orthographic view. It's not basically a design schedule. It is purely experience descriptive with pointing out certain optical elements that are just going to be there. So this is not an actual to scale representation of any sort.
And it can't ever be, because it's 90 degrees side on. You know, what we would see in the picture, this blur on the right-hand side, that's representative of this, something that takes up the entire frame. And what we don't have in this picture with the entire frame is all of this section. You know, the bit in between. You don't have that. You can't see the side of the observation. You can only see what is basically represented in this picture as the blur at the end. You know, what you're actually seeing. Well, you don't see any of this garbage, because this is a view that someone from over here would have. You know, by this tree. Right. Well, that's not what the picture is. But if you put it in that, you can then say something over here is 100 feet, and then where we've got our eyeball down here, but it's not in the picture, you can put that in the same image and say, well, you know, here's us, and here's our observation. No, it isn't. That's not how it's represented. But all to replace perspective with Earth curve.
I can show you something, Nathan.
Well, this picture does not claim any geometry.
No.
Just to make it clear.
No, this is perfect. I'm not saying
because
done
that's
anything
the
wrong.
problem with the orthographic view that Rumpus constantly uses. They claim geometry about it.
Yeah,
and
precisely.
That's not what I'm doing. This is purely optics. It's optics only. No geometry involved, really.
No, I get it. I understand what your presentation's for, but it's just useful because you're using their technique of an orthographic view to do it. Even though your point's the same, you've got two lines for a start. What they draw is a single line between target and observer across a tangent. Nevertheless, you've got two to show that you've got a field of view that's reaching a point where it will presumably disappear. You know, that's your vanishing point. You used to call it the first optical slant. But you've got a vanishing point that's depicted by these two lines that come to a point. Well, yeah, it's a kind of way of representing your field of view in an orthographic way. But in reality, what you get is an actual field of view. You know, that's reality. But nevertheless, because in the Black Swan image, the reality that's presented does not match with their models and cannot match with their models, they say that their models, which are a side-on representation, perspective exclusive, orthographic view, is actually reality. And the pictures being presented, in this case the Black Swan, that's the matrix. Just wrong because it doesn't match the model, even though it's a bloody photograph. But again, another ludicrous, ham-handed attempt at a rebuttal to a geometric impossibility that we have now, that they can't get around. Go ahead, Ranty. Thank you, Arwen.
Yeah, this is just a good example of how perspective works. So obviously I've just taken this image off Google, just searched it. It's a little bungalow. We're going to say it's 20 feet tall. So this is what it would look like up close. I have two other images here to the right, and they're just scaled down images using paint to reduce them by the actual size, just by a percentage. So let's have a look what happens when we reduce it by, I think it was 95%. Now, you can already see that it's almost impossible to actually make out any kind of details on that. It is pretty much a smudge. And if we actually pull it over even more, and then we've scaled it down again, this is what the result happens. So there's only so many pixels to go around. There's a very big building to look at. And because there's so few pixels to go around, this is the result that you get. This is how the camera or whatever technology that you're using to try and interpret what you're seeing actually puts it on screen. And this is what it will show you. This is that bungalow, and it's just pixels. That's all it is. There's no detail in it. It's the same house as this, just scaled down. And eventually that will just disappear to nothing.
There's a word for it. It's called resolution. And when we describe things going into the distance, they are reducing their angular resolution. You've got a smaller angle to them, and that's precisely what Ranty's demonstrating with this picture. The number of pixels represented on this right-hand side image is obviously far, far lower, in a similar vein as me describing you standing next to the towers, the chimney stacks, and having to crick your neck up. Well, you've got a very wide angle, very high resolution, it's right in front of you. Yeah, you push that to a very far distance, and suddenly it only represents a few pixels in your camera. The angular size has changed and reduced the resolution. Precisely what's demonstrated by Ranty here. Excellent demonstration, Ranty. Well done.
No worries.
Good morning, guys.
Hey, Chocolate.
What?
I think that's pretty pretty much good. So that's a brief summary of why we have any evidence of Earth curve as a housekeeping question. Tomorrow we'll cover axial rotation.
It only took 15 minutes.
Yeah, why not?
Well,
We're
surely
not sure that's
somebody must have some proof of curvature. Somebody in the Discord must have some proof of curvature.
No.
I don't know, man. I don't know why you're holding out hope today.
Yeah, it's difficult to prove something that's against reality.
There was
There's the things
Go ahead.
things disappear from the bottom up. There's that stupid argument.
That's
Fair
not
enough.
stupid.
No, I could just cover that. Hopefully I'll keep it even more concise. So if you take a brick and put it at 5 feet in front of you, you can easily see it. Whereas if you put that brick at a mile, it'll disappear from view. However, if you bring a telescope out, you could probably bring it back. Then you push the brick to about 8 miles and it disappears from view. Your telescope cannot resolve the brick, it's too small to see. Now if you then pile on top of that brick at 8 miles another 25,000 bricks in the form of a skyscraper, or probably a lot more, a lot of bricks to make a skyscraper, you can then see the skyscraper in your telescope, but the resolution of the brick at the bottom isn't going to come back from view. It's still too small to see, the angle being formed by the deck you are looking over. So your angular resolution for the brick at the bottom of that skyscraper is too small, ergo you've lost the skyscraper from the bottom up due to angular resolution. But the rest of the skyscraper can still be seen. Ergo, bottom up disappearing. Whoever's rumpusing me, gee thanks.
Sorry.
Good, I'm done.
All right. Sorry for doing that. But I wanted to add on it. I think it's also a bit of diffraction as well. Because all that, the angular resolution, yes, that's a factor. But yeah, with cameras that can zoom in very, very far, there's also the diffraction blurring from all of that light all moving parallel over the surface.
Diffraction.
And you can even basically
Hold on one
demonstrate
sec.
that
Oh,
in close
they're one and the
proximity.
same
So
thing.
it is indeed the angular resolution issue. It'll fall behind, as it were. But that's also because diffraction at an earlier point in view is blurring everything that's going past it. And that blur is what eventually covers it all up.
But diffraction is interference. And when you're describing angular resolution, the angular resolution limit, also known as the vanishing point or diffraction limit. So yeah, the two are they're not one and the same, because you can have an angular resolution greater than the diffraction limit. So they're not the same thing. But when you reach an angle that's too small to see, you reach a point where you can no longer resolve the data. Well, that's where you get interference or diffraction. Same thing. So that's the diffraction limit. So you're right, Arwin, but they're intrinsically linked.
Right, but one is purely bound really by the resolution, and the other is because of the interaction of the light over the surface in order to see what's beyond that. And that, I think, that specifically is what causes the apparent obstruction, the concealment.
You're mixing two words
the
up.
cutoff of the bottom. Specifically,
no, you're mixing two words up. You're mixing up refraction and diffraction.
No, I think refraction is blurring up in general. It's blurring over distance. That's what in the backdrop causes the blur, and nothing can be seen beyond a certain point because of the blurring. That's refraction. The diffraction is more interaction based.
There is a refraction effect called sinking, where the object seems to appear below the horizon. I've got the definition on screen. It's the opposite of looming. So the object could be sinking behind the horizon because of refraction.
Behind the horizon?
Right, but it's always indeed behind the horizon. It's always going to be an effect based on that mirror effect beyond the horizon because of diffraction. And then how that mirror is oriented, that could have several effects, I think. It's like a warping mirror, basically, just like in a in a house of mirrors, you know?
Well, what I'll say is tune into Gerrans on Thursday because I have a presentation specifically on this topic, and it's going to be all new information.
Better plug.
Bit of a plug there, yeah.
Better plug, please.
Oh, a better plug. I'm going to do the best presentation I've ever done in the past 2 years, and I'm going to put it on Gerrans on Thursday, and it's going to be ace.
That'd be Thursday the 30th of January 2020 on the Gerranism channel. At what time?
I believe it's either 8 or 10 o'clock UK time.
That's 3 p.m. Central Standard Time, approximately.
Yes.
Excellent. Be here or be sphere. Gerranism.
I also have them.
I'm going to concisely summarise your plug.
Show yesterday, by the way.
I love it.
Right?
I'm trying to concisely summarise the plug for the audience. So, be here or be sphere on the Gerranism channel for Ranty Flat Earth in his presentation regarding the diffraction limit, angular resolution. 8 p.m. or 3 p.m. Central Standard Time, approximately there or thereabouts. Be here or be sphere.
Real. And I've also got an image on the screen, Nathan, if you want to pop me on. I was looking into, I just typed in inferior mirage into Google. Now, there's 1.6 million results. So Google, in their wisdom, decided to promote this as their top result, 1.6 million top result. And we all know that words have meaning. And there's a difference between level and flat, as the Globers will say. Level is obviously a distance from the supposed center of the Earth's core, and flat is flat. And here we go. We're talking about lakes and oceans. So lakes and oceans, since these surfaces are very extended and flat, full stop. That's why we don't see any Earth curve, Nathan.
Because it's flat.
Because it's flat.
Well, we already knew that. But yeah, excellent wiki entry.
It's not even on Wiki. This is weatherscapes.com.
Oh, okay.
The top result, 1.6 million results, and they promote it as flat.
Because it is.
Because it is.
Somehow you'll still get the Globers to read curve there.
So what was your show about last night, Nathan, with the Rumpus, the 15-minute one you popped out?
Rumpus is starting to argue our argument. So in days gone by, years gone by, or in the case of that video, 2017, Rumpus would be arguing that you know an item in the distance is looming because of its position with respect to the horizon. So that would be the item looming and your understanding that it's looming based on its position with respect to the horizon. Those were Rumpus's words. So, fast forward to 2020, and Rumpus is saying, no, I've always, and you can go and check, argued that the horizon is an apparent position, and therefore can be looming with respect to the horizon. And then your question is, sorry, what's looming with respect to the horizon? Oh, well, the horizon. It's looming with respect to the horizon because that's what looming is. As defined by himself back in 2017, and by the citation he gave us yesterday. So even his own heliocentric citation, well, reference, he doesn't know what citation is, backed us. Their looming in general, how it's defined, is position of an object in respect to the horizon. Now, he's trying to argue that the horizon is an object, a physical object that's being loomed with respect to the horizon. Well, if it's a physical object that's being loomed, it's no longer physical. So he's got a contradiction in terms to argue, and the side that he's arguing to get around the black swan, a geometric impossibility for a sphere, is to argue our argument that the horizon is not an actual location. So in so doing, he's saying, it's all apparent. None of it's where it's supposed to be. It's all virtual. Well, if it's all apparent, it's not geometric, our argument. I think the words from Chocolate were boom or ouch. That's what it was, ouch.
Yeah.
So he's going, yes, of course it's all apparent. Yes, I've been saying this forever. It's all apparent. So not geometric then. It's going to leave a mark.
Yep.
Speaking of horizons, Nathan, last night we managed to get Brenda to come on the show last night. and we asked her to place on the black swan image where she saw the horizon being. Funnily enough, it's pretty close to where Miles Davis actually says that this horizon is in this particular image that I'm showing right now. So I've put a yellow line in to denote essentially where Brenda said it was. I can probably show you where Miles Davis actually thinks it is. Miles Davis thinks the horizon is actually down there. So these are two globers, two prominent globers who
are blind,
who clearly see something that we don't.
Who need glasses?
who need glasses, yeah.
So, yeah, so I mean, I don't know whether the audience kind of agree with that, or it's just cognitive dissonance, or just complete denial.
It's not it's blindness.
That's stupid.
It's literally blindness. If you think that the horizon is where you've drawn those lines, you are blind.
I drew them in to where they have placed the horizons. So the good thing about what Tony did, though, because Tony then said, well, if this is the horizon here, or this is the horizon here, what about this platform? Why is that platform not on the horizon? Why is that platform floating above the horizon?
But it isn't floating above the horizon.
Yes, I know, but his point was that if they are the horizons that those lines were drawn into, then how can you have this building in the background floating up here and not sitting on the horizon like you always see with every other image in the world?
Love it.
As soon as he said that, I was like, that is an excellent point.
Yeah.
Because that, you just can't have that.
Yeah, this is a geometric impossibility for a sphere. End of sphere. You don't live on a sphere with geometric edges for boats to go over and be obscured from bottom up, block buildings, or curve when you raise in altitude. That's not what we have. That's not what the horizon is.
And just to repeat the words from that citation that I just brought up, well, that quote, which was that oceans and lakes are flat. And here's the proof.
To my picture that you gave me of a giant mountainscape. There we go. Flat as a pank. I mean, yeah. Excellent presentation, Ranty.
Go ahead on mute for a minute.
There's a bit of doxing going on your show, Ranty. What was that all about? I'll wait 30 seconds for him to get on mute and then run away from the mic, because that's what people do to
What's
me.
That? I said I'm going on mute for a minute.
I know.
Then you asked me a question.
I know. So I do the pre-show. I go, I'm going on mute. I'm going to have to go and do something in the kitchen. Make it really clear that I'm not going to be in front of the mic. I'll wait 10 seconds and then I'll hear, oh, by the way, Nathan, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty lightheaded, actually. I need to go and eat because this is the third day without eating. It's bad.
Burning the candle at both ends, eh?
No. It's catching what the missus had. She had some sickness bug that was going around, and I managed to get it off her. And yeah, so I definitely need to eat something though.
What's wrong with you? You should live life like me. I'm healthy as an ox.
Yeah, you sound it, Dave. Well, the missus, because she works with children as well. She's always in contact with, sniffles and colds and all kinds of stuff, bugs. So she always brings them home.
Yep, I can relate. What did you? I'm going to give you a chance to go on mute and do whatever you're going to do. Get some food, Ranty.
Right. Okay.
So what did you make of yesterday, chocolate?
Yesterday's show here.
Yeah.
It was freaking beautiful to listen to Rumpus dance and bob and weave all day, not knowing whether or not he's got a physical horizon or an apparent one. apparently he's been arguing for an apparent one all these years, which is pretty funny to me. I always thought it was physical that he was arguing for, but I don't know. It's pretty detrimental when your entire argument changes in a heartbeat, basically. This Black Swan has done a number on them. It's great.
I'm going to do a couple of quick shout outs. Passway Toe says, "This show is awesome, guys. Shout out to Marcus. Thank you very much for the super chat, Passway. Really appreciate it." And N. Wadzinski, thank you very much for the super chat. Says, "Rumpus' argument is triggering a sort of Mandela effect for Globers." Yeah, the only difference, thank you very much for the super chat, and I know exactly what you're saying. Like, the timelines have changed and suddenly they've been arguing for a not actual horizon this whole time. Yeah, the only problem with that is there's literally years of broadcasted debates where they argue that things are being obscured by the physical edge of a sphere. So while it might seem like they can pretend they didn't have those arguments, they definitely did. And that's definitely still their religion of a sphere. Yeah, they just haven't got a way out. So they've got to start arguing our argument and just like mentally pretend they didn't have those arguments, which I absolutely love. The cognitive pain amongst Globers at the moment is really high. You know, I was recommended to go watch Sean Hawkins based on his facial expressions while he was critiquing yesterday's show. It was great. The guy is in immense amount of mental pain, holding his head, and he's tortured by this. And lots of other Globers are in exactly the same position, suddenly claiming that the horizons are not actual location. We've known it all along. Really? So not on the edge of a sphere then? Great.
Yep. It's too funny. Spent all day laughing. I watched the shows twice, and then the third time again with the little extra that you put with Rumpus back in the day, arguing for that. And then flipping back to 2020, and oh, look how the argument has changed. Look at that.
To win this argument, they've got to say, no, we never claimed we have a physical Earth curve edge. That's what they've got to say.
Yep.
We never said that. Oh, really? Welcome to Flat Earth. Got something you want to be presenting, Ranty? Clearly not.
There we go. Sorry. Yeah, I'm actually confused with this top result for Earth's geometric horizon, because I don't understand this word, this here. I mean, can anybody understand why they would put this in rather than just saying it's a calculation? On a clear day, you can see for miles and miles and miles. What's that got to do with Earth's geometric horizon?
Also a contradiction to the statement below.
But then
They would say
see for
because
miles
of
and miles and
refraction, you can
miles.
see for miles and miles and miles.
They literally mean 3 miles, because quite specifically down below it says a little more than 3 miles. 5k. Well, is that what they mean by miles and miles and miles?
Do you think if they put one more mile in after that, it would have made it 4 miles? Or do you think miles and miles and a long way? Black Swan distances.
Yeah.
No, wait a minute, though. They're going to say because of refraction, you can see for miles and miles and miles. This says on a clear day, which means refraction would be very limited, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it's a complete hodgepodge.
no looming then.
No looming. And it's always what they've always said, on a clear day. Tony's been saying it for years, for the past 3 years at least. I can remember him always saying, just on a clear day with good visibility, you can see for a long way.
That would explain why I can see Robben Island's beach at 8 kilometers away with my phone touching the water.
You got to say it right, man. Otherwise, Tony's going to be mad at you. You got to say, on a clear enough day with a big enough zoom and a bit of Paul's maths, you could see your own ass in a telescope.
On a globe. On a globe. We have a nice clear day. They claim that we've got super looming hyena refraction and that everything's bending. And then when you ask them how that's going to be applied, it's only when using their reified maths and a begging the question R value that they'll bend the light around their model at a rate whatever they see conducive with the image. In this instance, they've got a massive problem because the image has a horizon in a place where it physically cannot be. Ergo, every single argument to date that's been, yeah, of course the bottom of the Isle of Man's blocked by Earth curve. Yeah, we're seeing... How much of the beach are we seeing? Well, why are they asking us how much of the beach we're seeing? Well, because they've argued that Earth curve's getting in the way. And they've attributed geometric values to how much of it. Well, they're all going to ignore that and pretend it like it hasn't happened. It's not a Mandela effect. We've got video records of them doing it. So it's a total embarrassment for the Globe and the Globe arguers, because they've got endless reams of claims that we've got geometric Earth curve obstruction. Endless reams of them. For them to now to come along and say, yeah, we've been saying it's apparent the whole time. No, you've been saying it's Earth curve this whole time.
Do you think if they change this terminology, I mean, it sounds like you're listening to a child say this. This is supposedly from livescience.com, and it's on the top results on Earth's geometric horizon in Google. Why would they term it miles and miles and miles? Is that the same as sort of like saying greater than infinite over 6R refraction?
Subtle way of probably dropping that in there so that you don't think twice about it, even though they're telling you, if they said you shouldn't see any more than 3 miles because there should be a physical obstruction of a physical Earth curve in the way, then it wouldn't sound as much as good as saying you can see for miles when pointing out that you shouldn't see a little more than 3 miles as a 6-foot person. You're not going to disclaim the worst and most weak part of your argument. You're just going to drop subtly in, yeah, but you can see for miles and miles and miles. 3 of them specifically underneath.
Yeah, it just sounds like they just put it in there pretty flippantly, just to say, oh, if somebody happens to think about it, well, why can't I see such and such for, I shouldn't see that. And then they can think back to this and say, oh, well, it's one of those days on a clear enough day, I could just see miles and miles and miles because it's clear. Not thinking, oh, you're not seeing that because it's clear. You're seeing it because you're not looking across the physical edge of a ball. So, yeah.
The other plus side to yesterday was we made an
Shouldn't
example.
see that based on?
Go on, Black Sword, sorry.
So
Go on, Black Sword.
chocolate, you see?
I didn't hear you, brother.
I'm saying so you wouldn't be able to see it based on what?
I didn't hear you. I'm sorry, man.
I'm saying you shouldn't be able to see it based on what?
You should not
Based
be
on-
able to see it based on what?
Should not be able to see what? Some object miles and miles and miles away based on you living on a ball? Well, that's why they're telling you that in that little thing that Ranty just read, so that you can just think about it. Oh, I'm just seeing it because it's clear. That's why I can see miles and miles and miles.
I think it's just to dilute the point that we always see in a horizon that's further than we should.
But don't think about it too hard because it's just a very nice, clear day. Beautiful thing that they're trying to stick to refraction being some type of an excuse for this. Like Unorthodox yesterday was trying to tell us how it's refraction in the after show, but when I asked her, well, what kind of refraction are we talking about? Oh, I'm not a refraction expert. Oh, okay. Thanks, then. I guess that did nothing.
I think we should get Sean Hawkins to join, because Nathan watches him. I think it's only fair that he plugs him. Nathan's always talking about him. I think Sean should repay him by coming on and talking to us.
Isn't it amazing? We know the globe is Mortal bigger than they do.
Never
Yeah,
happened,
Glover's
mate.
in Discord.
We never went.
That joke will never get old.
Don't worry, my new mic will come soon.
Yeah, I'll have the steak.
Yeah, next Tuesday sometime. I was going to say, what Rumpus did yesterday was lay down a precedent. So, if you want to come here and say, oh yeah, I've got an explanation for the Black Swan, the horizon's looming above the horizon, and we have a not actual edge that we've always claimed. Bear in mind that if you've ever been on the show before, it's very easy to just go and dig out when you argued for it being a physical edge. So, yeah, just bear that in mind if you want to come and say, oh, of course, we've always claimed it's a not actual location. Of course the horizon's apparent. Alright, not geometric then, not an earth curve edge then, not blocking boats then, not blocking buildings then, not bending at altitude, not an edge of a sphere. Not a sphere.
Yeah,
Just like we argue.
All those shows aren't going to. They're not going to age well for these guys.
Can you mute your watch page,
Sure.
10th man?
Hang on, I want to revisit that.
Read what?
I want to revisit this quotation here about the horizon.
Am I dropping acid or something? Didn't you do this twice already?
No. It's the terminology. It's like we're talking about the horizon, and then they talk about just on a clear day you can see for miles and miles and miles. What's that got to do with the horizon? Why are they talking about how far you can see?
Just a statement of fact in amongst the bullshit. You've got to always pepper bullshit with a little bit of truth. In the same way as when they talk quite, knowledgeably about atmospheric conditions, it doesn't change the fact that they're going to swindle you and insert terrestrial refraction at a rate based on an R value when they talk educatedly about atmospheric conditions. In other words, you've got to have the truth in there to seem credible when you slip in your bullshit. Well, the majority of this is all about the horizon that they're going to reify based on a sphere. Of course, it's standard rhetoric. So they're going to tell you based on a sphere what the distances are. But they're also going to drop in a little bit of truth, which is if it's clear, you can see very far. Not a possibility on a geometric sphere with an obstruction in the very near foreground, but you can still see really far. That's what the statement says. So you've got to drop the truth in there, otherwise it'd make no logical sense. Otherwise someone will come along and look and go, I can see really far on a long day. On a clear day. I can see a very long way. Well, you come along to a statement like this and go, I can see for miles and miles and miles on a clear day, but this says 3 miles. That makes no sense.
Yeah,
So
but what's seeing for miles and miles and miles got to do with a physical edge?
Well, nothing. It's completely contrapositive, isn't it? Seeing a wall in your distance that's blocking stuff behind it isn't conducive with seeing forever because there's nothing in the way. The two are totally polar opposite ends of the extreme. One's stopping you seeing a long way, as in you can only see to the horizon, which is the edge of a sphere at 3 miles, and beyond that, stuff's behind it, right? Obviously, sphere Earth, right? Yeah, but you can see for miles and miles and miles. Get on with your day.
Mick West had it in his calculator. The hump. Do you remember? Mick West had it. Hump. When he was doing calculations. So the hump is the obstruction, right? So it doesn't matter.
Stop. Got the terminology wrong just before you carry on calling it a hump. Bulge.
Right, the bulge. Yeah, okay. So there was a bulge, and the bulge creates a physical distance. So what does it matter how far you can see? Whether you can see for miles, or whether you can see for miles and miles, or miles and miles and miles and miles and miles. What's that got to do with where the physical hump is? Or the physical bulge?
Oh, yeah.
Granted, let me give it a try. The distance to the horizon is determined by different variables. Now, they don't say what those variables are, but let's keep reading, including the temperature and your height. Now we get it, height. So at a 1 foot observer height, the horizon could not be further than 1.22 miles. So they have height and temperature affecting your horizon. So the real horizon at a 1.22 at a 1 foot observer height could be no further than 1.22 miles. Therein comes the black swan on a clear day. It's over 9.41 miles. So this blows away their 3959 radius. They're wrong.
Well, yeah, I mean, this final statement is that nail in the coffin. For a 6 foot tall person, the horizon is a little more than 3 miles away. Full stop. That's it. End of story. So anything. So if you are 1 foot high, the horizon is less than that, and the black swan, as you say, destroys that argument.
Yeah, they never pin themselves to their math. So if this article was going to be true, they would say, based on the radius of the Earth at a 6 foot position observer height, the horizon could be no further than. They'll never do that.
I wonder if a little more than 3 miles away is like 20 miles away. Is that what they mean by a little more than? Because that's what the black swan shows.
Well, this is not for people who saw the black swan or went through the arguments the last week or so. This is for people who just read and accept. Oh, I'm just seeing more because it's a clearer day. What we're doing is we're pinning them to their radius. If the Earth has a radius of 3959 at a 1 foot observer height, the horizon could be no further. That's the argument. Has nothing to do with anything else. So this is why it's such a strong argument. We're using their globe dimensions.
I love playing the fool.
Can I just brush up on your dimension? Can I just brush up on your terminology though? So the geometric horizon. Now that is to say the physical Earth curve they claim we live on and observe when it's blocking boats, blocking buildings, or seeing curve from altitude. That's the geometric horizon. Now the Earth curve claim is that we have geometry. Now as soon as you say geometric horizon can be no more than, that is fact based on the radius they say the physicality of the sphere has. Now the moment they say, well no, we don't have a geometric horizon, it's not actual, we've won. You must have it be geometric if you're going to claim we have geometry. So their confession or their disclaimer that no, we've always argued it's not actual, well then you're arguing it's not the geometry of your sphere anymore. We win both ways.
Or you could do like Rumpus did yesterday and say, oh, the apparent horizon is based on the geometric horizon.
It's a violation of the law of non-contradiction. If you are not actual, you're not based on actual.
Then you had Knucklehead Brenda say that there were two horizons in the Black Swan photo, the geometric horizon and the apparent horizon.
People not
What? You can have
comprehending
both?
English.
Oh?
Yep. There's two horizons in that photo.
What's a horizon?
Yeah, she said the horizons were in front of the oil rigs.
What's a horizon?
Clearly.
What's a horizon? Geometric or otherwise? Anybody? What is a horizon?
The apparent position where the sky meets the
appears to
ground.
meet the ground.
So the apparent position where the sky meets the ground. Is anybody around with the black swan image so I can pop it up, please? You, Ranty.
Okay, 1 second.
Subscribe to
I'll
Ranty
put it in
Flat
Master
Earth.
B.
Subscribe to Ranty Flat Earth.
I'll put it in Master B. You can also pull up the message I just sent in Master B after the Black Swan photo before we close out.
Will do. Thank you, Ranty. You got your lines on it. Oh well.
Not for much longer.
Perfect. QE, can you just give me the definition of horizon again, please?
Yeah, it's a place where the sky appears to meet the ground.
And anybody on the panel at all, how many points are there where the sky appears to meet the ground in this position, in this picture?
I know. One.
One.
Not
I
two
would
then.
agree with that one.
There can only be one.
Perfect. Right, I'm just going to read out this message from QE. You'll have to excuse my terrible reading voice. No one has ever been able to define the difference between interference and diffraction satisfactorily. It is just a question of usage. There is no specific, important physical difference between them. Richard Feynman.
Can you hear me?
No.
No.
Hello?
No, I was reading.
Hello?
Hello?
Anyone there?
Yeah, can you hear us? What's going on?
John?
Have you
Yeah,
lost-
yeah. Can you hear me, Nathan?
Yeah,
No.
I can hear you, yeah.
No, we can't hear you, John.
Oh, shut up, Branty.
Just, try to scroll up just a little bit more. That's not the message.
Oh, right. Still relevant to this show, though.
He was rebutting that message.
Which bit?
Where it starts.
With Nick's comment.
Nick put a comment. I guess you were talking about the fraction. I was scrolling through the chat. Nick L, aka Nick with no brains, a self-professed physics degree holder, says diffraction is interference. Laughing out loud, laughing out loud, laughing out loud. What a silly thing to say. Really? Richard Feynman. No one has ever been able to define the difference between interference and diffraction satisfactorily. It is just a question of usage, and there is no specific, important physical difference between them. Where'd you get your physics degree from? Mail order from Tuco Community College in Tobago, you clown. Thanks.
Stuff. It came up earlier on the show, which is why I didn't recognise that there was a comment from Nick, because I was saying that there's a point in the nearer foreground where you have maybe atmospheric conditions or something causing what he called diffraction. And I said, well, no, you're confusing refraction with diffraction. So I thought that was I thought you'd listened to the first part of the show, that was all. But clearly not.
Well, they're going to say there's the refracted horizon due to miraging, and then there's the geometric horizon. But if we go back to the picture of the black swan, I'm just saying what they're saying. Hold on. So if we go back to your picture, I'd like them to show me where that geometric is in relationship then.
It's just somewhere up there in the front because reasons. Just because I said so.
Because 3 miles.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, so Unicorn Laser Eyes, she asked me to speak to you, Nathan, about this quote from Sean Hawkins, who says, the optical horizon is obstructing the bottom of the far oil platform, and the apparent horizon is meeting the sky behind the oil platform.
Wow.
Sorry, QE. I know it's tedious. Can you just give us the definition of horizon again, please?
Yes. It's the location.
You broke up.
I'll tag in.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Chocolate.
The apparent position where the sky meets the ground.
Perfect. So, can we get the black swan image up again? Oh, I've got it for myself, actually. I'll just do it. So you all know what the image is, although you can't see it in the Hangout. So, how many positions are there where the sky appears to meet the ground in the black swan?
Well, according to Sean, there's 2.
One.
Two positions where the sky appears to meet the ground. He's blind. He's one of those people we discussed
Sure.
earlier. Blind.
Do you think they all have this illness?
Blindness?
Miles Davis, Brenda, Sean, they all have this illness where they see things that most humans don't.
Yeah, it's called black swan disease. They're allergic.
Oh, I got a great disclaimer. You there, QE? If you can, just let me know when I read this out. So I got a comment from Nick at Nathan Oakley. Why are you using a broken formula? Any response? That's like using a broken tape measure to measure your height and claiming you've proved you're 8 foot too tall. Rolling on the floor laughing. He goes on. Andrew Thomas Young claims his own formula is inaccurate and gives no less than 3 reasons for it on his own website. All you have done is prove his own claim that his formula isn't accurate all the time. Congrats.
Did they just throw Andrew under the bus?
Well, my response, Nick, quote, Andrew Thomas Young claims his own formula is inaccurate. End quote. Little laughy face. Epic.
10th man, Oxbow Spirit says, Black Swan disease, big thumbs up, laughing his face off.
That was me that said that. Damn it.
That was chocolate.
Oh, was it chocolate? Sorry, my mistake.
No, I was going to come in with the swan flu, but I couldn't get in.
I knew you were coming.
I couldn't get in, chocolate.
I know.
You're
You
evil.
triggered me, chocolate.
Everyone's now trying to get in on the
I got a
puns.
shameless plug before you. Hold on a second. I got a shameless plug before you close out. Nick, you just been exposed as a pretender clown. I must have drug you around by your short hairs for the past 2 years. You little stalker, you crayon muncher. So Andrew Thomas Young says his formula doesn't work. Really? It's just simple geometry. You doofus. We don't need Andrew Thomas Young. And shameless plug today, Tuesday, 1 p.m. U.S. Central, 7 p.m. UK on the Quantum Eraser channel. We'll go over the Black Swan briefly, but it's the travesty presentation. You know, the plain truth, Mr. Allegory of the Bible. Yeah, we're going to do that again, make it a little quicker. So be here or be sphere, Quantum Eraser channel. Out.
That's 7 p.m. UK, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time tonight, Quantum Eraser channel. And with that, I'll say if you are watching this on the Nathan Oakley premiering stream, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you're watching this live on the Nathan Oakley 1980 channel, this is where we bid you farewell. A huge, massive, enormous thank you to both today's Discord and G+ panels for making this live show possible. Stay tuned if you're watching on the premiering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!